clear of the closing doors, please.
All right, here we go. We are live on Twitter Spaces, and the New York Knicks take a 2-0 lead on the Boston Celtics, taking 2 away from them in Boston at the TD Garden, at the other garden, if I may. I can't believe this. My name is Peter Kennedy, right here live on Subway Sports Talk on Twitter, on X, whatever you want to call it, and we're here to talk about the New York Knicks. I legitimately cannot fathom that they did another one of these comebacks. If you were with us on the Spaces on Monday, we highlighted some of the great stuff. If you were with me on the Subway Sports Talk podcast this Tuesday, we talked about some great stuff. But we also talked about some of the other things that were realistic to think about in this series. Those things were including what would happen with the Boston Celtics three-point shooting. What would happen with their game plan about not relying so much on the three-point shooting and attacking the rim and getting to the free throw line and getting Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Derek White inside the paint to open up shooters as well as finish around the rim. We talked about it all. We decided to look at the big picture because I felt before game 2 that was incredibly important not to get our hopes up too high. But now we sit here up 2-0 as Knicks fans, looking at this roster, looking at this team, understanding that this is a new series, even more so than what we saw after Monday. Because after Monday, we're up 1-0. That's great. Now, what's next? Now, we sit here even more so understanding that this 2-0 lead creates a whole new dynamic in this series. That we have the chances to really make this upset realistic, to make this upset a possibility. Because if you're being honest with yourself, if you're sitting here as a Knicks fan, you're thinking, okay, up 1-0, a lot of work to be done. And part of you should still be thinking, up 2-0, a lot of work to be done. But the light at the end of this tunnel, you can see it now. It's around. That light at the end of the tunnel is shining. And at this point, the Knicks, who have been playing with nothing to lose at the end of these third quarters and the end of these fourth quarters, all of a sudden have something to lose. Because with great power comes great responsibility. With a 2-0 lead comes a lot of pressure. And right now, the Knicks are going to play with a different pressure than they felt in Boston. They're going to feel real pressure at the Garden on Saturday and real pressure at the Garden on Monday. And yes, I'm talking about the real Garden. So we're live right now on Twitter Spaces. We're obviously going to jump into a bunch of different stuff. We're going to talk about all the breakdowns of what happened in this game. We're going to talk about the rest of the series moving forward. But we got some people popping into the chat here on Twitter. So why don't we get right to it? I'm going to start with my guy. He was in the Spaces on Monday, a little bit later, so some of y'all might have missed him. But what is up, Rob Russo? Jump aboard. What do you got to say, brother?
Man, this team down the stretch, it is something else. It is something else. It is something that I don't want to say something like I've never seen before because I'm a Florida Gator, so I witnessed this for the entirety of March Madness. But it's seriously so incredible that this team is doing this right now. I think that tonight was an even better game for them, especially on the defensive end. You know, on Monday we talked a lot about how many opportunities that were good for the Celtics that they just didn't capitalize on. I don't think that there was as many of those tonight. You saw them stray away from that 3 ball that they were obviously hunting for. They shoot the 3 more than any team in the league, but tonight they calmed it down on that end. Still weren't particularly efficient from 3, but they went more inside. They tried to adjust their game, and I think the Knicks defense works better on the inside, and it actually caused them more struggles than they were facing offensively, just in terms of just missing shots.
Yeah.
In game 1. So first of all, it's a testament to the Knicks defense. Mikal Bridges down the stretch was absolutely phenomenal. But we talked about it again, just going back to some stuff that we said on Monday, where you take some of those positives from later on in the game and you incorporate them more throughout the course of the game today. Now, again, you found yourself in a 20-point deficit once again.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start to crawl your way back out and the momentum starts to flow your way, they start to feel it. Mikal Bridges they turn it on. Now, do I wish that they were not, because I
Yeah,
wish they were
wishful
not
thinking.
down 20
Yeah.
to begin with? Of course. But again, when the clock hits zero, the team with more points wins the game, and that's all that gets remembered. Because you go back to the Garden now with a 2-0 lead, it doesn't matter that you were down a combined 40 points over the course of the first two games. All that matters is that you're up 2-0. But again, you said it. You said it right. There's a lot of work to be done. Not satisfied with this at all, because the Celtics could very easily turn it on, take both in the Garden, and then take the next two games, and they could win this in 6. It's a total possibility.
Shut up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yo,
So-
let me go. Who's that? Rylac right there? Who's jumping in? Zachary?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me jump in real quick and I'll let you go for a second, because what Rob just said is a realistic thing to bring up here. I don't want to sit here and be like, all right, listen, the Celtics can win 4 in a row, but Rob made some great points about how the New York Knicks need to play a more sound basketball for 4 quarters. Is this sustainable?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to reach some real pressure come Saturday. Go ahead, Zachary. Oh, we lost Zachary. That was quick. Thought he was about to pop in and say something there, but we lost him. Maybe he'll pop back in. But Rylac, I don't know if you want to say anything right now. We got a lot of people with the speaker icon on. Throw the hand emojis up if you want to pop in and say something. I'm happy to get as many people involved as possible. But I do want to jump in on a few of Rob's points just in the meantime here, because Mikal Bridges has to be a massive story in this game. I know I wasn't alone with defending him after Monday's game, right? After that fourth quarter defense, after the stops in overtime, after the big 3 he hit, which kissed off the glass in overtime, we were singing his praises. I put out a TikTok on Subway Sports Talk just earlier today saying, hey, let's not talk about the 5 first-round picks. I don't want to hear it, right? However, the first 3 quarters, damn, 0 points, 0 for 4 assists, 4 rebounds, whatever, that's fine. You need that man to score the ball. And then fourth quarter, he comes out firing. He is playing good defense. He is hitting huge shots. And obviously, again, with the late game winning defensive play, he deserves his flowers. Now, again, to Rob's point, you need him to show up sooner. That's important. He has to be better sooner. And that goes for the entire team. But there's a lot of positives to draw from. I want to go to somebody real quick. Lilka, are you in here? You got your speaker icon on. Are you looking to say what's up? What's up, Lilka?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great, aren't you? Aren't you?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing amazing. I'm getting my voice back. You know, so just to your point, I've noticed, I've noticed, and I don't know if anybody else has, that Mikal doesn't seem. I think he seems to flourish when Jalen is off the floor, which is interesting. And it's kind of weird because I feel like Jalen is the one who typically is and should like set the table for everyone else. But I do notice that either if Jalen or Kat is off the floor, that's when Mikal can flourish. And it could be because sometimes, like the offense can get a little clogged when they're all on the floor at the same time, specifically Kat, just because I think sometimes they do get a little stuck, they get a little stagnant, and they just stand. Whereas a lot of
Yeah.
they really flourish when they're moving. I mean, I know that takes a lot of energy to move and then run back and play on defense, but I think, I think sometimes they just kind of get stuck in just like watching Jalen do what he does. But yeah, I don't think about them picks no more. Like everybody
5 picks,
else.
6 picks, 7 picks. Who gives a pick? Like it's such a good point by you, Loka. I had the same exact thought. Soon as he started like getting those rhythm shots, which we know is his forte, he's a good catch and shooter, but he gets at his best shots, gets off his best shots when he gets to dribble to the elbow, when he gets to do that little fadeaway.
Right.
And then once he hits 1 or 2 of those, all bets are off with him, right? He can really get hot as he did in that fourth quarter. And you even saw, to your point, when Brunson came back on the floor for the first few minutes, they were like, all right, Mikal, you're cooking. Go ahead, right? Brunson was giving it up. And in the fourth quarter, we know it's not something that he wants to do.
Right. And I mean, it's just like, it's unbelievable how, they've come back from 20 down. And I'm going to be honest, like, before the playoffs started, I wasn't as confident in this team as I was with the team last year, because
You were not
watching
alone.
the team last year, I remember they'll be down 15. I'm like, okay, now we got this. We got this. We were always being able to fight our way back into to win the game, into a lead. We could be down 15 at the beginning of the fourth, and I knew like, oh, nah, we got enough time. We're good. This earlier in the season this year, I was like, I don't know, but from what I saw, from the last games that I've seen, like this postseason, man, honestly, I'm like just super inspired,
Mm.
and I've never, like this team has given where everybody was just like counting them out, which honestly I think that's what they want. I think this team
Bulletin board
thrives
material.
they thrive off of people not believing in them. And like Jalen has said it, like his whole career, like from when he was younger, they always thought he was too small, he was too slow, he wasn't athletic enough. And he thrives off of that. So I think this whole team thrives off of being the underdog. Now, can they still keep that, can they keep that same mindset going into this movie that's going to happen at MSG? Because MSG is
Bro,
going to be a
oh my
movie on
God.
Saturday. I swear, like, I think they should call the National Guard anyway. I know it's not a championship game, but they should call them just in case, because just to know that we was able to run these guys out of Boston down 20
Crazy.
twice in a row that is something. After scoring only 13 points, which was the lowest, what they say, in like 30 years, like the lowest first quarter, like the lowest amount of points in a quarter in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like there's something to be said. There is something to be said about this team, and I'm truly inspired. Like
You're not
they
alone.
giving New York City hope. They giving New York City hope. I'm like, shit, maybe this the year?
Look, listen, you are not alone. And I said it on my podcast I put out this morning too. We fell in love with the team last year because we knew at the end of the day, whether they made their shots or won the game, whatever, they were balls to the wall, that they were leaving it all out in the court.
Yeah, they
And
were
we
going
knew,
scrap.
right, with Dante and Isaiah Hartenstein and the rest of the guys who are still here, that it was going to be a absolute brawl no matter what. So this team, we didn't feel that all season long. Now,
Right.
we're feeling that again. And I'm going to try to get to some other people here. I know my boy Mets Muse wants to pop in as well. But my last thoughts on that front, like this team against the Pistons, I think it didn't inspire confidence in people because they didn't win those games, by a wide margin. But what they did do is show that toughness, earn back that trust that they're going to leave everything out on the court and they're
Right.
going to be great and execute late in games. And that is what got them here so far in this Boston series. Mets Muse, my man Nick Foster, what is up, my brother?
What's going on, Pete? Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
All right,
Are you
I'm gonna
coming home
hop
from the
in.
TD Garden right now?
Yo, I'm coming home. So I was at a family dinner at a nice fancy restaurant in Long Island, and there I am screaming and yelling like an idiot. But yeah, everybody's looking at me. I'm so happy the game is on. But the few words that I want to say is, man, oh man, was I wrong about Mikal Bridges, man.
Wow.
He is worth every single pick that they traded him for after the way he's played down the stretch in these last two games. And specifically, I'm referring to that the moment in the game at the beginning of the fourth quarter when Brunson was out. He single-handedly by himself carried the offense and kept the Knicks in that game. And then at the end, again, back-to-back games in this series, making a game-saving play defensively at the end. The play to seal the game. They got him to stop the Celtics. And so far, in my opinion, he's been the X factor down the stretch, and he's allowed the Knicks to thrive down the stretch in these games.
Yeah, I literally, and I hate to even admit this, but I sent a text out to a buddy who was in the spaces on Monday. So I'll give him a shout out to Chris Mule. And Alan, I'll get to you in a second. I don't know if I said your name right, but I sent out a text at the end of the third quarter, and he was like, "Bro, Mikal 0 points is crushing me." And I again hate to admit this. I wrote, I would call him trash, but that would be an insult to trash. And listen, I didn't want to say it. But did I inspire Mikal Bridges subliminally? Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know. But clearly I was wrong in that moment. I do feel at liberty to share that because I was, out here praising him so much on Monday night and on the podcast today. But that is nuts. And there's a lot of other guys to hype up. We'll get to all of them. Alan, you want to jump in real quick? And correct me if I'm saying your name wrong.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. I wanted to add that I feel like the Celtics team is like the 2018, 2019 Rockets because they were really good in that regular season, but in the playoffs they died. And also about the 3-point shooting, we remember in that game 7, they missed like 23 pointers in a row or something like that.
Yep.
And that really sold them the game. And these Celtics, they're an experienced team. I'm really confused why they haven't changed their game plan of shooting like insane amounts of threes every game. This does not look like a experienced Celtics team at all.
It's a really great point, and the Rockets comparison makes so much sense with just the sheer volume of missed threes, But then you look
Yeah.
at what the Knicks kind of were funneling them towards defensively. It was like kind of working, kind of not in those first 3 quarters. The Knicks offense was probably more of the issue, if we're being honest. But what the Celtics clearly had the mission to do was get to the rim. However, both teams were playing incredibly physical. They were, fouls that were not called on both sides around the rim. And also the Celtics were rebounding the ball very well. They just still are not hitting those shots. And to all the people out there after Monday's game saying, hey, listen, they're not going to shoot 25% from three again. Guess what the Boston Celtics shot in game 2? Exactly. 25% from three, 10 out of 40. So they took 20 less threes. They were obviously just as in the game, if not more in this game to win it. But the Knicks defense, you have to give them some credit because, Pritchard missed some open ones. Tatum missed open ones. Horford missed open ones. Of course, they missed open ones, but there was an energy about the Knicks defense that made it incredibly difficult for them when they were driving to the basket and forced them to still take those threes, and they're just not dropping. They probably will drop soon, but they still haven't dropped yet. Alan, you got more to add?
Yeah. I have one question on your opinion. Do you think that the Celtics will change their game plan to ultimately, like, if they're wide open but they're not making those shots, do you really think they're gonna stop taking those threes?
No, I don't. I actually really don't. They've played this way for 2 straight years. It is Joe Mazzulla's tried and true methodology of believing that's their best way to win games and best way to beat teams. And I don't expect them to stop shooting. I really don't. I expect them to
Agreed.
honestly start making more. If I'm being
Agreed.
frank here, and that sucks to hear, but it's just the truth. And the Knicks are up 2-0 right now. We're feeling fantastic. We never expected to feel this good going back home to MSG, but that's just the reality. They're going to keep shooting. And there's a chance that they start making. But if we think back to last year's playoffs, there was a heavy dosage of Jaylen Brown carrying them. There was a heavy dosage of Derek White and Porzingis, who was basically a non-factor outside of about 6 minutes tonight. And Jason Tatum didn't win the MVP, Finals MVP for a reason here. So there's pressure on Tatum that's mounting. That's real. But they're not going to change their game plan. And Derek White, to me, was the most impressive Celtic today by a long shot. Rob, you want to jump back in?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, I agree with you, and I think that's what makes the Celtics such a scary team is that there is nobody that's necessarily a weak point. And I think in the modern league, I think you're as good as your weakest link, and I think that's always been the case, but I think especially so now with how intricate offenses are, they will go at you and meticulously pick you apart to find the best mismatch for them to try and maximize the amount of points. It's why the Lakers aren't here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they had center issues, but they attacked every time that they had the ball, they would attack Luka Doncic, and he could not compete on the offensive end or on the defensive end to keep up with them, and they said it in interviews. That's what they did. So the Celtics, that's their strong suit. Now that being said, as you mentioned, Joe Mazzulla, I mean, his goal is to hit as many of those shots, and he created a roster that can go out there and hit those shots with efficiency, because the three is, whether you like it or not, the most efficient shot.
That's how they got here, right? That's how they got here and how they won last year.
It's how they got here, and it's how they're going to stay here. I don't think that they're doing any much different than what they were doing. What they were doing last year. I mean, they kind of just ran it back with the same squad that they had, right? But there's the Knicks. I think they caused some confidence issues, and whether that was the Knicks or whether that was just them missing shots. But as you mentioned, 20 less threes this game. Now that's not just that's a significant number. It's
still 9 more than the Knicks took, for the record. But
right.
Yes,
of course. But I mean, they took so many in game 1, but that's the volume of shots that they shoot. So, but for the Knicks to force them inside and force them to play their game where they don't have to close out on the perimeter every possession, it worked out in their favor because they have defenders that can go out there and they can defend better on the inside, maybe necessarily than they can on the outside, as shown in how many open shots they were getting. Just want to mention I mean, how big was Josh Hart tonight?
Bro,
I
Josh
mean,
Hart, man. Wow.
like I feel like we haven't
Leading
touched
the
upon
offense
that yet.
basically, man.
We
Yeah, we
haven't
haven't.
we haven't touched upon that yet. But I mean, after game one, where I'm watching this guy and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, does he have the yips right now? Like he was afraid to shoot the basketball in game one, just passing up on open looks 10 feet from the basket, where defenders were Porzingis was on him, and he just completely sagged off him to get under the basket, and he would pass up on it, and it was just like so frustrating to watch. That was not the case today. He was out there like a general today, and it was so impressive, and it was so good to see that he is in the right state of mind, that he was able to correct and adjust. And I think that goes back to having a guy having such good team chemistry, that I'm sure Brunson was out there having conversations with him, telling him that they trust him to go out there and take the shots. And I'm sure he had the same conversation with Mikal, which led to him being so good down the stretch. I mean, you look back to the Pistons series when they couldn't get Brunson on the floor for the final couple minutes of the game because there was no time. And
feels like a long time ago, huh?
Yeah, it does, right? But in that situation, the Knicks, like, they didn't know what to do. They were almost just left out to dry. And we brought up a great point before about how this team looked like the offense was really freely flowing without Jalen Brunson commanding the offense. It looked like a completely different team out there. And it just shows you that, maybe if teams are starting to figure that out earlier on in games, you can show them different looks and you could do it successfully. So I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, no, great points. And Josh Hart deserves more than one shout. So I'm sure we'll talk more about him. And something that we've all wished for with this Knicks team was they're better when everybody eats, right? And it didn't happen until that end of the third where Brunson was out and Mikal starts doing his thing, or beginning of the fourth, whatever it was. Mikal needs to be in rhythm. OG didn't really do a ton on offense, but still made his fair share of plays today. And obviously Josh Hart was just unbelievable. But there is somebody I want to get to right here. Longtime co-host of Subway Sports Talk, now the host of the Pat Boyle Show on the Infinity Sports Network. My man, Pat Boyle, in the Twitter Spaces right now. Patty B, my dude, are you locked in for your 2 a.m. show? Are you leading with the Knicks tonight?
Absolutely, Pete. Absolutely.
What's
I mean,
up?
I am just in absolute disbelief, dude, at the fact that they just did this again. That they just pulled off a 20-point comeback where it's 50% Boston just gagging and just purely choking, vomiting all over themselves. Tatum and Brown, these guys. Like, how can a team that just won a championship last year choke so bad like this at home, up by 20? And
Twice.
Rob said it. Like, they took 20 less threes, and they still couldn't get what they wanted. They still had trouble getting to the bucket in that fourth quarter. Like, Tibbs' reliance on Mitch, who played 22 minutes tonight and was a plus 19, like, unreal. Mitch, there was only, believe it or not, I'm looking at the box score. There's only 3 Knicks that were a plus in the plus minus, and they were all off the bench. And Cam Payne played 5 minutes. So, like, does that, how much does that actually matter? But Deuce was a plus 9. Mitch was a freaking plus 19. That's unbelievable. His ability to hang in there in the paint and clog things up and force Boston to go to, like, their second and their third options. The fact that he grabbed a couple of offensive rebounds, he had a couple of steals by, with deflections, just his presence. Like, for anybody that has, and I get it, rightfully so, hated on Mitch at times for always being injured and seemingly getting hurt at the worst possible time. Like, you're seeing his impact when he doesn't even have to score. He only had, but he had 8 rebounds, whereas Cat had 17.
Crazy.
But just Mitch's presence and how he can disrupt an offense and force a team to their second or third options was incredible. I mean, it was incredible. And, again, on a night where Brunson doesn't even get to 20, doesn't have a great shooting night as well. Again, you can easily say there's going to be a lot of people out there that are still saying, oh, the Celtics will win this series because as soon as they start hitting shots. Yeah, well, it's been 2 games, both at home, and they've missed 75 freaking threes.
My God.
So, even then, like, and there's other people, well, Porzingis is, like, I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear any excuses from anybody. They still got a long way to go. We got to I want to fucking sweep them. Don't get me wrong.
Let's go.
I want to sweep them. But worst case scenario is if this is now 2-2 going back to Boston for game 5, like, we got to get 1 and preferably get game 3. But, like, at worst, this has to be 3-1 going back for game 5. And then it's just don't lose 3 in a row. But I mean, the adjustments that Tibbs has made with the Knicks from what we saw in the regular season, just getting the belt by Boston, by Cleveland, by OKC, and how nobody had given this team a chance, to then being down by 20 in both of these games and having the internal belief that, hey, we just need a run. We just got to hang in there. I mean, you guys have brought up Bridges already. He didn't have a freaking point to the fourth quarter, scores 14, and once again comes up with the game-saving play, the game-winning play on defense, how Josh paced this offense when it was kind of rough in the beginning. And OG on a night where he only scores 5 points, didn't really have a good game, but still was able to come up with a couple of key stops. I remember in the third quarter, Brown and Tatum were both trying to bitch him and just, back him down and then hit their little mid-range jumpers, and OG clutched up with his defense. So, it's Knicks basketball, right? Yeah. Every single game comes down to the wire. And I think when you have that mentality and you have that belief that, hey, we have been here so many times before, we trust ourselves. We trust that we're going to make the right pass, that we're going to make the right shot, that we're going to make the right defensive play. And again, Boston, they won the title last year and they cakewalked through most of it. Not that this team has never faced adversity. It's just crazy to see a team crumble like this back-to-back games at home.
If you think about their hardest series last year, Pat, and amazing points all around, it was probably Indiana, and then Dallas, they kind of ran through them. And the fact is, Indiana played them tough, but clearly not tough enough to even get one win, right? That was a gentleman's, was it a 4-0 or 4-1? I forget, but
sweep.
It was a sweep, right? But all those games were relatively close. So yeah, they gave them a run for their money, but they never felt the adversity. Like you said, they never got punched in the face at home and went down 1-0, let alone 2-0. And Pat, I am happy to report to you right now that I just checked DraftKings. And I got to be honest, this makes me a little bit nervous, but currently, right now, the New York Knicks are listed at -120 to win this series. So they started off on DraftKings. The Celtics were -900. The Knicks were in the +600s. Yesterday or this morning before the game, Celtics were -340. Knicks were +250. And now officially the script has flipped. The New York Knicks -120, Celtics +100. But Pat, great points as well. Again, on winning one at home now is not just a nice thing. It feels imperative, because this thing can flip quick. And that even though the Knicks are up 2, it hasn't been the most confident wins, right? So you can't get too ahead of yourself. I know there's a lot of Knicks fans probably screaming, fuck Boston, probably screaming, fuck Trae Young for some reason, which I hate so much, but that's probably happening. And we need to just see game 3 first on Saturday. Now, another guy who wants to pop in here requested to speak real quick. I got you, Champio, whatever your name is there. Pop in. I know you requested to speak.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, honestly, I think now Jalen Brunson has surpassed Carmelo. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I think he might have done that already.
And also, all those picks from Mikal Bridges, I feel like it's all worth it now.
Dude.
2 steals.
Yeah, 100%, man. And listen, I was crapping on him after that third quarter, going into the fourth with 0 points, and he showed up again in the clutchest moments possible. And you got to think about how difficult it is to truly be that third option, right? Because in an ideal world, it's OG or Mikal as that third option. But when Brunson and Cat are doing so much, it's hard to get rhythm. And frankly, we know Mikal's a rhythm shooter. He's best. We were talking about it earlier, when he gets to that elbow, that little fadeaway, when he gets to dribble a little bit. And it was a great sign that even when Brunson came back in the fourth quarter, that he was like, all right, Mikal, go ahead, take one. You're hot. And I love to see that.
I know, but we also need some more from Deuce McBride.
Hey, listen, you're right. Deuce was pretty solid off the bench. Obviously, he only had 5 points, but they were big. He had that big dunk. He hit 1 3 out of his 2 shots. And he was a +9. I think Rob brought it up before about the bench being the better plus minuses. Mitchell Robinson +19. He had the best plus minus in the game on Monday. And yet again, here we are, Mitchell Robinson leading not just the Knicks, but the entire game with a +19 on his ledger. Rob, go ahead, Champio. Champio or Champio? What is it?
I don't really know. I made this kind of a long time ago.
Respect.
Also, these refs were horrible this game.
Yo, they were letting the boys play, though. I give them that piece of credit. I felt like the Knicks were getting, held on some plays, and there were some moving screens, but they let the boys play. And at the end of the day, whether all the calls go in your favor or not, I'd much rather the referees, let the physicality go and let them be a physical presence. Because I think in the end, that does favor the Knicks a little bit. And not when Drew Holiday is getting involved, because that dude is tough and strong as hell. But it does favor the Knicks at large. Also in here, by the way, Yankees Morning Brew, my boy Hector. Hector, you haven't had a chance to pop in yet. What is up, Heck? Are you doing amazing right now?
I'm doing good, Pete. You know, as much as I want to be arrogant and ignorant right now, right? I'm gonna just be calm,
Take us a
right?
deep
I
breath.
gotta
Give us a
remember
deep
that
breath.
the job's not done. You know, we still gotta win 2 more games, right? You know, Pat Boyle is here, so I don't want to embarrass myself in front of Patty Boyle, right? So I gotta remain calm. But no, Pete, this game was amazing. And Mikal Bridges, you know, I'm guilty, and I know you and I we've had conversations of criticizing Mikal Bridges and calling him out for his lack of hustle or his lack of effort. But today he showed it. And they pointed out in the broadcast at the end of the third quarter when the Knicks couldn't really score, we was down almost by 20 when Jalen Brunson and Cat was on the bench. That's when Mikal Bridges took over and scored like the next few buckets for the New York Knicks and brought us back into the game going into that fourth quarter. And in that fourth quarter, Captain Clutch, what more can you say? I just can't wait to come back to the Garden and for our Knicks to get showered by the love from this fan base. That's all I wanted to say. Keep doing what you're doing. I love you, brother.
I love you, brother, too. It's always great to hear your voice. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you tomorrow on Thursday night at 8 p.m. on T.O. Allen Friends on Uptown Sports TV. We'll have Al Cintron, Anthony Gallo, who was in here before. I'm not sure if he's still listening or not, and myself on Uptown Sports. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit of New York Knicks. Rob Russo, welcome back. Come on in.
Yeah, I mean, I just think everyone's making great points, and I think to what you mentioned, or to the conversation we were having about how Mikal is a rhythm shooter, and then we had a little discussion about how you want more from Deuce McBride, and it's like that's true, but I think like right now, I mean, it's the time to develop Deuce McBride as the leader off the bench. I think has come and gone for this season at least. I think you had a lot of time to do that and you didn't do it to the best of your ability. So I do trust Deuce with the ball in his hand. I'm a big fan of him, but as we talked about how he's a rhythm guy, he's a rhythm shooter. Mikal Bridges, like I could see him going in with an increased workload and maybe decreasing Brunson's workload depending on how the flow of the game is going to the point where he's basically just completely leading the second unit on.
Well, if
On
you remember
Saturday.
it in game 1 too, that run started with Brunson on the bench. Well, not started, but the big portion of the run, Brunson was on the bench and Deuce was out there. And I think, the big thing about Deuce, and we said this in the spaces on Monday, like he's been in the playoffs before. This isn't like a young dude who, is wet
Yo, do you
behind the
hear me?
ears. Yeah, I hear you, man. When you go unmute yourself, we hear you. But yeah, when Deuce gets off the bench and actually gets in the game consistently, he's been here before. It's not like an
I love
aberration. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I love Deuce McBride. I think he's a great welcome addition to this team. I think that maybe he's been underutilized over the course of multiple regular seasons to the point where I think his development, his growth as a player has been stunted. Perhaps that's on Coach Thibodeau. But when he's on the court, I'm very confident in him, and I think he's very confident in himself, which helps a lot. But yeah, as you mentioned, that run starts with Brunson on the bench, and I think that's just like it's like going to your changeup pitch, a little bit. The team is so used to seeing the offense led by Brunson. They're so used to seeing this kind of one-dimensional side of the Knicks offense that could maybe come alive down the stretch with some clutch shooting and the movement that everybody kind of gets involved. But in the beginning of the game, it can get kind of stagnant. And the Celtics are obviously ready for that as an elite defensive team. But when you switch up that look a little bit and you show them Mikal leading the offense, going out there and getting to his spots and shooting, and then maybe even increasing his role as a playmaker as well, I think that could be massive. I think that could be a pivotal thing for them going into Saturday, just continuing to switch up those looks and keep the Celtics on their toes, keep them confused. Honestly, I think over the course of this series, my respect for Coach Mazzulla as a coach has it gone down a little bit? Maybe.
It's an
In
interesting
terms
point,
of the
yeah.
fact, like, I mean, you look at him and people, he won the championship last year, of course, and he's one of the hottest young coaches in the game, and I think his mentality is something to talk about, to be commended for sure. But he made some solid. I think he made some solid adjustments. But the Celtics are supposed to be a well-oiled offensive juggernaut. I don't think that they looked like that tonight, at all.
And what I'll say about Missoula too, Rob, real quick, is how much of it falls on him versus falls on these guys, right? Because has he made major adjustments? No, but it's not necessarily their
Love.
All right, man. I appreciate you for tuning in, but if you keep doing the noises and stuff, I'm gonna have to just move you from speaker. So just hang tight a little bit, my guy. But Joe Mazzulla is not one to have to make a lot of changes. Like, yeah, maybe the Porzingis effect that Pat Boyle was talking about before of him not being super available, right? He had the illness on Monday. We don't really know what that's all about. But at some point, you have to look at in the mirror Jason Tatum, who's supposed to be a top 5 player, who's supposed to be, a surefire all NBA first team. What's he doing, right? Like, how many adjustments can you make for these guys who know what they're supposed to be doing? And I think that with Missoula has to come into play here. But real quick, Rob, before you jump back in, because we got Pep over here as well. And Pep has been with the speaker icon, hasn't had a chance to say what up yet. Yeah, I'm sure they're chanting that right now somewhere in the world. But Pep, why don't you jump in and give us some takes real quick?
Yeah, thank you. What I really want to talk about with this I'll go to the Celtics first because I have a lot to say about my Knicks. I feel like this Celtics team, specifically Jason Tatum, proves that they cannot play a team when it gets close, and they're not, and especially Jason Tatum. Because let's say the Celtics win, God forbid, the Celtics win this series, and worst case, the Pacers win this series. The way the Indiana Pacers play basketball is they're gonna play harder than you, and it works like 90% of the time. So I feel like I can't, even if the Celtics somehow beat us, I feel extremely confident with the Knicks now because we're in Boston's head right now. Clearly the shots aren't going down. It's 2 games in a row. You're on 25% efficiency from 3. So I feel like this Celtics team has proved that they can't play in close games, whether it's against us or they play the Pacers or even the Cavs. I feel like they're going to have a tough time. And just I don't think this is Joe Mazzulla's fault. I mean, it's his game plan. It won them a chip, and now they're just missing shots. So I wouldn't really put that on him. But I feel like Mitch played a great game today. Mitch did what he had to do. And I feel like Karl Anthony Towns stepped up a lot. I mean, I know
he carried the offense early, yeah.
Yeah, he started us. He started with a quick 8 points. And then he had 17 rebounds. And I know the Celtics missed a lot of shots, but he didn't have as much last night. So I think Cat also had a great game. And honestly, what Champ Bio said, we do need a bit more from Deuce or from the bench, exactly, because God, I don't want to say this, put this into the universe, but an injury would actually destroy it.
Pep, why are you putting that in? You said you don't want to put in a universe. Don't put it in a universe.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but guys, I appreciate you again, but like,
get him out of here, Pete.
Can we not be doing that? I'm doing it right now.
Get him the fuck out of here, Pete.
Oh, I think I just might have made him a co-host by accident. There we go. Remove those guys. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Appreciate your insights, but we can't be having the random noises. It ain't good for the program out here. But Pep, I appreciate you, but don't put that in the universe. It's all good. You can always talk about injuries as an if, but it's not something to actually break down here. But Pat, I want to go back to Pat real quick because Pat, I think when we look forward to the next few games, what are you looking for from this Knicks team in game 3? Because I think now we're in this little like twilight zone of feeling amazing. We're on cloud 9. The Knicks win 2 games in Boston, but we know it was by the skin of the ass, right? Like it was by the fucking whatever miracle that needed to take place. So now game 3, the Celtics are playing with the desperation the Knicks had in game 1 and game 2. What do you need to see perhaps early in game 3 to keep this confidence and keep this, momentum going?
Not go down by 20 points right away.
Could be a good start.
I mean, look, bro, I mean, as incredible, and that's like the long-lasting memories that we have from these 2 games is the 20-point comebacks. How about not fall down by 20 points in the first half? A little bit more efficiency coming out of the gate. 13 points in the first quarter. Like I would hopefully like to never see that again. And that felt like it was a lot of those in every game they lost to Philly last year in the first round, and the games they lost to Indiana. I don't have the box scores up in front of me to know if it's 100% true or not, but it felt like that was the case last year in the playoffs. Is those games that the Knicks lost, it was constantly getting off to a slow start. 16 points, 17, 18 points in the first quarter. Like they have to come out of the gate firing. Like 20-point comebacks. I know that feels like the norm right now in the NBA playoffs. It's
Seriously.
not, and it's probably not going to happen again the rest of this series. Again, who knows? I could be wrong. We just could see absolute chaos again a few times in this series, but I doubt it. All right, I feel like Boston's probably going to shoot a little better, and I feel like the Knicks hopefully would get off to a little bit of a better start. But that absolutely has to be the case. That's what I'm looking for. Game 3 and Game 4 at the Garden is get in front, make Boston play from behind, because we've seen how they've played the first 2 games when we cut their deficits. They get nervous, they start choking. So I would love to see how Boston plays if they're 10, 15 points down. And I think a lot of that is not relying on the Brunson hero ball, which I think the Knicks got into a little bit in those games against Detroit. Those every single game against Detroit came down to the wire, but there was like 2 or 3 games where Brunson, like from the get-go, was trying to go ISO, and there wasn't offensive rhythm. The ball wasn't moving around. So I want to see good passing. I want to see some balanced offense. Like I know we all hate the Pacers as Knicks fans here. But what they do offensively is beautiful, because it's for 48 minutes. It's selfless basketball. They don't rely on one single person. Every possession is, no matter it's who's open, that's who's taking the shot. So that's kind of what I want to see from the Knicks from the get-go. Game 3 and Game 4. Foul trouble, I guess, can't control too much depending on what kind of whistles the refs have. But, that being said, Cat got himself into foul trouble in Game 1 when he was cooking in the first. He had 10 points in 9 minutes, but that's all he was able to play in the first half because he got himself in foul trouble. So I guess just smarter defense and more selfless offense to start the games in Game 3 and Game 4, and ride the hot hands. I know that at least myself, was getting ready to move on from Tibbs before the playoffs began, when that series was looking fishy against
probably
Detroit.
Even after they beat Detroit, you're still feeling a little sense of that, Pat, right?
Yeah, because you're like, all right, now if we just get our ass kicked and get swept by Boston, like, I think it's time to move on from Tibbs. So, like, that being said, he's played Mitch a good amount in these 2 games, which I love. He has. I know, as Rob was saying before about Deuce, or somebody was saying that they want to see more out of Deuce. Maybe it was the kid that kept making the noises after that.
It was Rob.
So like Deuce is. I feel like at this point, Deuce has kind of been what we need. He's just he's that punch off the bench. He's that little spark where he had 5 points, but it felt like the 2 buckets he hit were big in the grand scheme of things. So I would like to see a little bit more Deuce, but I do think for the most part, the rotations, the defensive matchups, the fact that they're okay with having Mitch guard Tatum, and if Tatum's going to be a dumbass and keep taking step back threes when he's got Mitch on him, and again, even that last possession, it was Tatum on Mitch, and I'm saying shoot a 3. Go ahead, shoot the 3, bro.
Go for it.
Please shoot the 3, and then he dribbles through the paint, doesn't attack the rim, goes to baseline and tries the fadeaway jumper, and Bridges was all over his ass. Like, the defensive spacing. We talk about offensive spacing all the time. The defensive spacing that the Knicks have had, I think, has been pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And, again, this could, it's a make or miss league. That's a cliche saying, but the Boston could easily show up Game 3 and Game 4 at the Garden, lo and behold, and shoot 50% from deep. And it, quite frankly, then maybe doesn't even matter what the Knicks do. But that's kind of what I want to see in terms of what the Knicks can control, is more selfless passing, more selfless basketball, and a reliance on not just 1 or 2 people on offense to start the games. And hopefully that means better starts.
Yeah, I think with that being said, well, actually, before I get back into it, I wanted to shout out a few people. HNL Dre in the comments on the spaces here. He's saying the rematch round 2 from last year. He's here for it. Shout out to HNL Dre for tapping in. And then Upside Down Table. Thanks for the live pod. Good combo. Appreciate you, my friend, for tuning in as well. So many good things there. Rob, you want to keep going?
Yeah, I mean, like, the defensive spacing, I think especially this game was apparent in how good that it was, because, I think their closeouts were better, and then, the adjustment to shoot a significant amount, a third less threes this game than you did last game, forcing them inside, just goes to show how good of a defense the Knicks are inside and how pesky they can be. Now, I think the real thing is that if if Jason, you talk about Jason Tatum, if Jason Tatum, and this is where the question comes in about Joe Mazzulla, right? If Jason Tatum or Joe Mazzulla end up realizing that, oh shit, Jason Tatum is a 6'10" freak of nature, that we're doing everything in our power to get positive switches on of defenders onto him to give him mismatches, and then we're using those mismatches for him to go and take step back threes, and it's like almost to a ridiculous extent. Now, it wasn't as bad this game as it was last game, but if Jason Tatum attacked the rim last game, the Knicks would have lost because the shot
He was
chucking
4 or 15 from 3 or something like that.
I mean, it was absolutely absurd, and I think it just I don't, and that's why it's you understand that this is his offense, and they like to shoot a lot of threes, and that's all well and good because they're good enough to hit a lot of threes a lot of the time outside of that game one. But when you really think about it, it's like if you have a guy like Jason Tatum who's just in and of itself a walking mismatch, he can be good against,
except for against Mitch, apparently.
Apparently, right? But even which Mitch looked fantastic on him, especially in this game. I think that it was even better than he looked last game too.
Rob, you mind if I just jump in real quick because
I
just saw a stat too because I was thinking about the times that Tibbs has had the double bigs on the floor, Towns, Cat, and Mitch, and I just saw DJ Zulo. I think he's from Knicks Film School. He tweeted Towns and Robinson were on the floor a combined 9 minutes and 8 seconds, and the Knicks outscored Boston 20-4 in those minutes. That's unreal.
Wow.
And this is something, and that's a great point. And this is something that I think we brought up on Monday too, and that was something that they went to a couple of times in the Detroit series, and it works well because they're both able to do their own thing. Now, when watching the instant reaction of game one, even though despite the win, was how do you even play Mitchell Robinson if they're just going to attack him in the way and hack him the way that they were doing in game one? I think that they implemented a plan to get him out there, obviously plus 19, to go out there and put him in there successfully. So now you have to go into the film room and say, okay, how do we get them out there on the floor at the same time more than 9 minutes? Because especially without Porzingis, I mean, that's size that Boston just can't match up with. I mean, Luke Cornett is one thing, but obviously,
and Cornet's not bad either. He actually gives some good minutes.
He's no scrub for sure. I mean, he goes out there, and he does the dirty work. He does what needs to be done. But if you can get those two guys out there more, I think that it bodes well against a lineup that's basically playing Horford at the 5 for the most part.
And two things to add on that front, but before I do that, shout out to Zodiac GM. I think he just left the spaces, but he was in here for basically this entire time. He replied on Twitter and just said, Knicks A+ energy, their transition from mediocre to elite. I give the Knicks and front office an A+ for converting this team to elite status in terms of team synergy. And I think we're seeing that happen in real time. I mean, I think he's not doing a recency bias thing because this is what they're becoming in these late game moments, which is what you get these guys for. You get OG and Mikal for these moments. You get Karl-Anthony Towns to be that second scoring punch. But I want to shout out Tom Thibodeau real quick because we were talking about him before. How slick of a move to keep Mitchell Robinson in there for one extra foul when he was like, all right, they're going to foul him again and try to send him to the line. How about this? Give us that extra foul for free. Then I'll take him out. And now we're one away from the bonus. And it made the Celtics play just a little bit different defensively the rest of the way. And that was a slick little move there by Mr. Tom Thibodeau. So he deserves a shout. And then furthermore, Mitchell Robinson holding up on defense the way he has, it's one of those things when you see in the NBA, Sam Hauser, who's out right now, it's a perfect example. He's a pretty decent defender, but NBA players see him because he's a white dude and he's kind of clunky. It's I'm going to attack this dude. I'm going to kill him. And it's not the case. With Mitchell Robinson, I think some of these perimeter players are yo, this baby deer moving ass is going to guard me out here. No shot. But he moves good. He stays in contest and he makes you take a shot that you don't want to take. And that's the key to having a huge center who plays defense on the floor. And then with Cat in congruence, that allows Cat to be Cat. Cat doesn't have to worry about contesting all the shots by himself. He doesn't have to worry about, boxing out Luke Cornett. He can go attack the board. And to me, those two things work in such good synergy, to take the word from Zodiac GM. So shout out to the Mitch Cat blend, which is looking like a real thing that we were all dreaming of watching throughout the end of the regular season and obviously here in the playoffs. Lilka, yeah, we haven't heard you from a minute. What's up, Lilka?
No, I just wanted to piggyback off of what you just said about Mitch because he has really good feet. He has
Yeah.
very quick feet for his size, and he has a really good spring. And so, people are like, why doesn't Jason Tatum, like go to the basket? I think that's just a testament to that's a testament to Mitch's defense and his presence, and people not necessarily wanting to go in there. And I just to also speak about, like what, you guys were talking about what you want to see going forward. One thing that I have to call out, and he did much better today, is Cat Karl Anthony Towns. I He's a great player. He's great. I'm not mad that
But
he came, but I there is something about his there's something about him when he's like
about his
reading the
aura.
game. Not his aura,
Oh,
but
no,
like
no, his
reading the
like
game,
his
right?
basketball IQ kind of. Yeah.
It's sometimes I feel like it's like he knows that he's about to get double teamed.
Hmm.
And it's just like he's still holding the ball and holding the ball and holding. I feel like so many of the turnovers that he, you know, picks up, and I think he had like 4 today, are very unforced, and it's just like, bro, if you would just pass the ball. Like there were like 2 times where it's like he's trying to force his offense,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And sometimes you have to let the game come to you. You don't have to force it. What I do appreciate though is that he got a little stronger, because what I did realize, I don't know if it was this the last game and the last Detroit game, where I felt like, and this is an issue that I've had all season with him, he cannot hold his position.
Mm.
He is too big and too solid, and just to be getting pushed off the block, to not being able to get to his spots, just to set
By
up
like
to get
Jaylen
the
Brown
ball.
sometimes too, right? It's not even like it's just Horford. It's like Brown pushing him around sometimes.
Yeah, it was like Brown last series. It was like Tobias Harris sometimes, and it's like, bro, you're 7 feet, like what is it, like 250, 260? Like, I understand that he doesn't have, like, these guys might be shorter than him, so they have a lower center of gravity, but you got to be able to hold your ground. Like, there shouldn't be anybody pushing you off the block so easily.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be. And when he gets the ball at the top, sometimes I'm like, I appreciate him going to the basket, because I remember those Julius Randle years where he would just go through the legs for 8 seconds at the
Oh,
3-point line and throw up
God.
some BS. And he would always make him. I would always get mad about Julius because he would just make himself smaller. Like, you're 6'8", go to the basket. Now the issue with Karl Anthony Towns is like, okay, go to the basket, but if you don't have it, please don't force it to go to the basket. Like, you're a good passer. Like, let's try and set yourself up. So I just want him to read the game a little better going forward. I need them all to box out, because
Yeah,
that was an
dude,
issue today.
there were plenty of loose balls that it felt like the Knicks coulda, shoulda, woulda got to, that the Celtics, they were just falling in their lap. Like, how many air balls in that second half like landed in the Celtics lap? Like 3. It was crazy. But what you're saying, Loka, is that Cat is all per, no pounce. Is that what
I'm
you're
not.
saying?
I don't. I want him to be Hellcat. No more Bodega Cat. I want
Yeah,
him to be
Hellcat.
Hellcat.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna keep that in the back pocket. But yeah, Loka, great. Thank you as always. Wait, hold on, I'm gonna get to Ike real quick because Ike Feldman just popped in. Ike, what's up, dude? Thanks for popping in.
Oh, what's up? I'm stuffing my face right now. Victory food.
Well deserved, brother.
Appreciate you. Just followed back, retweeted. Appreciate this. I don't want to hear Keith McPherson talking Nets, throwing those slants towards the Knicks country. I pop on ESPN radio. They're talking about the draft still.
No way. Well,
Thank
that's national
God.
radio. That's crazy.
Thank God you got this up and going. I will be listening from here on out. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Ike. Much appreciation. And you know what? Shout out to my boy Keith. If anyone doesn't know, I also work at WFAN. And don't worry, I might tell him that you said that. No, I'm just kidding. But I work at the Fan with Keith. He's a great dude. But as a Nets fan, and we know how he is as a Yankees fan too, he does like to push back and poke a
Yeah.
little bit on the Mets
Yes.
and the Knicks, which is fun in spirit. But I know as a Knicks fan, we got to hear that Knicks talk. That's why we're all here.
Yes, he's mastered the troll, replacing the schmooze. Shout out to him. Yeah, and I actually worked at the Fan for
Yeah,
like
I remember. I remember you, right? We knew each other.
yeah.
No,
I
you
was
did the UFC
probably
with Hoff, or I got the wrong Ike?
that's correct. Yeah. Yes, good. I appreciate it.
Of course, brother. I
Um,
remember.
but yeah. First of all, do you guys know is there any like replay to catch the games? Because for the second time, it happened in the Detroit series, and then it happened here. Is there like anywhere the game can like be replayed? Because
You
I
know,
started
good
late
question.
to
It
fast
might be
forward
on Max.
commercials.
I think
If
if
yeah,
it was the game on TNT today, because then it'll
yeah,
be there could be a replay on Max. You can catch it, or the highlights are on
that's a
YouTube.
good pull. That's a good pull, Rob. It's definitely you could probably rewatch it on Max if I had to guess as well. But the extended highlights will be on YouTube probably by the time we're done here if they're not up already.
Yeah, I had to do the extended highlights when I pulled out of the max when it went into the what is it now the Warriors game.
Thunder
All of a sudden,
Nuggets. Yeah.
or it jumped forward, and then all of a sudden it reset the game. I was like, "Oh my god!" But then I'm
Yeah.
watching. I picked everything off my face. I bit every single nail, and I couldn't believe they took the lead. It's unbelievable, man. I was literally making peace with, okay, they can't make this big comeback. We're going back to New York 1-1. It's okay. And they did it again. They did it
Dude.
again.
They did it again. It's unbelievable. This is Subway Sports Talk right here, live on Twitter Spaces. Shout out to everybody who's been in here. We were topping out at the 20s of people in here at once. My guess is we're well over 100 people in and out of here throughout the night already. All of you still in here right now. Shout out to y'all. What a game, man. I can't believe that it just happened again because I think as a collective, a Knick fan, we were watching that game like, all right, well, they're not going to do it again. But then you say to yourself, all right, if you get within 15 at the third, if you get within 12, if you get within 8, all of a sudden, boom, I get a text from my boy Jack McFarland, who was in the spaces on Monday. Jack Mack is like, yo, telling you right now, they get within 4, they're winning it. And then all of a sudden it comes back from commercial break and the announcement goes, or Kevin Harlan says, hey, over break, they checked that Mikal Bridges jumper, and it was, in fact, a 3, making this a 4-point lead. I'm like, oh, my God, Jack Mack spoke it into existence. Here we go. And he was right. Shout out to my boy. Rob, you got any more else to add? Because we've been on this thing for almost an hour already. I'm having a blast. I ain't necessarily trying to go anywhere, but we can start, slightly wrapping some things up. And, Rob, what else you got?
Yeah, I'll jump on Luka's point for a second, and I just like about Cat. I mean, I totally agree with it. I think hits the nail right on the head. Sometimes he's just like, which I think could be helped by perhaps the Twin Towers being out there at some point, or maybe some different offensive sets and looks. But yeah, when he tries to force stuff, it can get ugly. I think a lot of the times he has that issue is when he puts the ball on the floor and just tries to kind of pound his way inside, and sometimes
And everyone knows he's going to try to shoot. That's the problem too.
and he loses the ball, and then he just he doesn't take those opportunities to pass. I think that there's a playmaker in there. We've seen it before. So get everybody involved, and I think that over the course of these past 2 games, you see, because when I watch this team, and I have a bunch of non-Knick fan roommates down in Florida, so I get the shit constantly about this team going, how they didn't win a game against a contender all season. They're frauds. Celtics in 3. I'm like, and how they're going to lose to the Pistons, and the Pistons are better than them. And I'm okay, yada 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 yada. But now you're able to see that why this team, why they made the trade to get Cat first of all, and now that they have Cat, and now that everybody is kind of fully in their role and in their position, this is everybody is an all-star caliber player in the starting lineup on any given night.
Right.
And with that, there's the depth concerns, but you have Mitch come back. Tibbs plays a shorter bench in the playoffs. Everybody knows that. Luckily, they have the health to handle that right now. So, it's working. But I think it's just like regardless, I'm happy with how they've come together in this series, because there's some points in that Detroit series where they're scraping by and they're scratching together wins against a team that they did what they had to do against them, but it didn't always look good. Didn't always look pretty.
No, certainly doesn't.
And you're going down 20 in these first 2 games, but once that comeback kicks in, it's very pretty basketball. And the offense is flowing and the defense is flowing and the communication is there and the chemistry is apparent, the friendships are apparent. And I think that's
The
such
power of friendship.
it is. It really is.
Shout out to Dante.
It's such an
They
important
need a win
thing. Of
tomorrow.
course, I miss Dante so much, but I look back and I as a Gator fan, and I hate that I missed Pat Boyle on this because his tweet,
Oh
where
my
he
gosh,
picked,
yeah.
well,
I'll let him know, Rob. Don't worry.
because he picked St. John's over Florida, and I said in no world is St. John's beating Florida, especially not in this one. And he said Florida overrated, and then sometime after the national championship, that tweet blew up, and I got 100 different mentions about it. So
Oh, is that right? I did not know that tweet blew up.
yes, just the 2 words Florida overrated was his reply to me, and
it's hysterical.
And it blew up, and I kept getting notifications about it, and it kept making me laugh. So I wanted to say something, but it's all right.
The one thing I know about Pat Boyle is that he can take the smoke. He likes to dish it, and he can take it. That's why he's good at what he does. That's hilarious. I did not know that took place.
Yeah, but I've watched this Knicks team so much because I watched the Florida Gators this entire season. And I don't know if anybody in here has also watched college basketball, but the Gators were constantly cardiac the entire season and always behind in games that they this is a game where you're going against a team that's on paper in terms of reputation better than you. So maybe you're expecting to be down a lot. But the the Gators would often be down against teams that maybe they shouldn't have been. And then once you get into the tournament, they're down 12 points in the national championship to the best defense in college basketball analytically.
That was
and
crazy.
Statistically one of the best ever. And somehow in the second half, after Walter Clayton Jr. has 0 points going into the second half, he hits 2 nice and 1 plays, and he's kind of the Brunson of the team, the closer, the ice in his veins.
I was just thinking that.
Completely pulseless, and I just see so many similarities where sometimes you're like, does this team have any structure at all? What's going on? I'm freaking out. This looks awful. This is terrible. We're so cooked. It's so over. And then all of a sudden you're so back, and you're back in this game. You're fighting. Walter Clayton Jr. is passing up an open floater at the elbow to turn around and hit a straight on 3 from the top of the key and drill it and beat Texas Tech. And so all of a sudden you start to see that team kind of come out of this New York team. And I think that a lot of what went into the Gators was just, an unwavering trust by a coach that goes into the players to go out there and do their own thing. Now, the X's and O's for Todd Golden for Florida were questionable at times, but I think so much of it was that he knew the talent that he had out there on the floor, and he trusted them to go out there and execute. Now, Thibodeau is much more involved in the X's and O's when it comes to the Knicks, but I think there is just that inherent trust for them to go out there and do their own thing, maybe almost to a fault sometimes with the over-reliance of ISO ball for Jalen Brunson and late in games that we see in the Pistons series. But I think, some adjustments have been made. Tibbs is a good coach, as much as I was ready to cut his head off too if we lost to Boston.
You were not alone.
Yeah, so I just see so many similarities in these teams, not just the orange and blue jerseys. And, that gives me a little bit of confidence in this team that, that team won a national championship. They found a way to scratch and claw and fight their way back into games, down 8 against Auburn with 5 minutes left. All of a sudden, Elijah Martin goes down the lane and dunks onto Hod Pettiford and Chad Baker-Mazara at the same time. And, we're back in it. Then then you mentioned that point where it was like, okay, if the Knicks get within 4, they're taking this game.
Right.
And it's
you
like,
have that confidence in them right now.
And that's what it felt like as a fan to watch the Gators, because it was like they would go down in games and it would be, okay, they're going to come out of this in the second half and they're just going to start just putting the ball in the basket. And I have no doubt in my mind that they will go out there and do it. And then they go out there and do it and prove me right.
Well,
so
go ahead, finish up.
I'm just saying right now at this point with the Knicks, we're at a point where I'm like, okay, now I trust this team. We mentioned how
we didn't necessarily have that trust in this team this year. We had it more in the team last year, but now I feel it. I feel it here with this team.
Because now, even if you look back to that Pistons series, which again is starting to feel like long history now, because it feels like, weeks ago. It was just a couple days ago in reality, right? It was just a week ago.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't handle all those late game situations incredibly well. It took some
No.
heroics. It took some
ugly.
mistakes and learning on the fly, right? Some of it was really ugly. But this confidence that they're building, man, there's orange and blue skies tonight, to shout out to your Gators one more time. But this is becoming like a serious thing. And like, I think always as Knicks fans and a lot of us who live in the tri-state and kind of eat, breathe the New York sports scene, it's so easy for us to get bogged down in what the New York fans are saying. And yeah, we know our team better because we watched them for 82. Yeah, we know what Deuce McBride has done lately, more so than some of the national guys. But when it comes to the overarching conversation, I do like turning to the national guys to hear what they have to say. And like, I heard Richard Jefferson on Ryan Russillo, this week, and he asked him point blank, like, if you got late game, minute or less left, SGA or Jalen Brunson. Richard Jefferson, who's famous Nick troller, like, loves poking at the Knicks when he can without hesitation. It's like, Jalen Brunson, this guy's different in these fourth quarters. He knows exactly where he's going. It's not just step backs. It's not just fadeaways. He gets to the rim. He pulls out the whole bag no matter what part of the game is. And there's so many top tier players in this league right now who late in games, in fourth quarters and in crunch time, they just want to go to their step back. They just want to go to their one move at the elbow. Not Brunson. Brunson is willing to spin, fade, post up, take the step back, drive, get the foul. Like, he will do everything in his bag when it matters most. And I think that's something that is what makes him the clutchest player and Captain Clutch right now. It's just special about what he's accomplishing at this moment. So let's close up on this thought here, because I want to make sure that we talk about what's to come here in these next couple of games. Because right now it's official. The New York Knicks odds have flipped completely. They are now officially favorites. I'm looking on DraftKings right now. They are minus 120 to win the series, with Boston at plus 100. Whereas before this game, the Celtics were minus 350. The Knicks were plus 250. And before game one, it was minus 900 for the Celtics and plus 650 for the New York Knicks. And now the opening odds for Saturday's game at MSG, we got the Knicks at home, and they are plus 5 on Saturday. So not a major jump in the line. This game closed at Celtics minus 10. So obviously a 5-point difference, but you give a couple points there for the home court advantage. And now, we see what happens with the Knicks still technically being underdogs in game 3, and they may very well not be favorites in any of the games moving forward. However, they are favorites to win the series. So exciting times here for the New York Knicks. A lot to look forward to and a lot of basketball that is yet to be played. So for all the Knicks fans out there, wear this one with pride. But I'm telling you, this series is going to have a lot of fight in it still. Just like I said in the Detroit Pistons series before it even started, I said it on WFAN, I said it on Subway Sports Talk, that every game would be a war with Detroit. I got to be honest, I didn't expect every game in this series to be a war, because I expected the Celtics to get 1 or 2 blowouts. But right now, the Knicks are laughing at the moment. They're up 2-0, and we have a lot to look forward to. We got a couple speakers left in this room. I want to pop around real quick for closing thoughts. Keep it tight. Pep, I'm going to start with you. If you got some closing thoughts, let them rip.
Yeah, I feel like what I just want to say, close it up. I feel like everything I wanted to say has been said. I feel like Knicks fans, we all think the same. It's kind of crazy, but I mean, not really. I feel like you guys said everything, but what I will say is it's a long series, even though we're up 2 now. But it's a long series. We were up 2 against the Pacers, right, last year?
Correct, yeah.
So it's a
Don't
long
bring up
series.
injuries again, Pep, all right?
I would never. I would never. But I feel like everything that needed to be said was said. Obviously, my big stepper today was Mitchell Robinson. I mean, like,
Pep's
I
big
wanted,
stepper, I like that.
I wanted to jump it in before, but someone already said it. He moves great, especially for a big guy. And like, even with Jason Tatum, like, he really suppressed Jason Tatum. Like, Jason Tatum had 11 points or 13 points, 15 boards, but it's not like he didn't want to score. He shot 20%, and you know how much I love field goal percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's just my closing thought. Mitchell Robinson obviously didn't win us the game, but played great.
He damn sure helped it quite a bit.
He did. He definitely did.
All right,
but,
Pep. Go ahead, finish up.
But yeah, I feel like that's it. See you guys later.
No doubt. Shout out, Pep. Lilka, you got any closing thoughts?
Yes. So I just feel like it was a. I feel like both games were just like very collective team efforts. Some players really dialed in. It showed a lot on the like the box score. What some players did, others did not. I think going forward, um, people are saying like, Boston played a terrible game. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the Knicks didn't play perfect either. Like,
Correct.
we
Good
had a
point.
lot of self-inflicted turnovers. Like, we did not play a perfect game, but what we will I can say is that when it's time to dial in and dig and scrap, we have been able to dial in and dig and scrap. But I think we can take it up another level because we by far were not perfect. OG did not shoot well. Um, Jalen didn't shoot well.
Mhm.
We had like, what do we have, like 15 turnovers? Like, we can definitely be better, and we can also hopefully not start and then be down 20 like others have said. But I think, I just want them to go into the mindset like, listen, we are still the underdogs just because we're up 2-0. I just don't want them to, get a little lax and just think like, okay, they're going to be in our house now. But I think they know that at this point. I think they are dialed in, they are focused, and hopefully we can get to the next chapter. We just need another 96 minutes of that scrappy, good basketball, and can take us to the next round. So
Mhm.
that's all from me.
Shout out. Appreciate you, Luca. Ike, any last thoughts?
Yo, Pete, yes. Appreciate what you're doing for the local New York sports community. Love it. And if I remember correctly, you were one of, or if not the best dressed person in the studio, if I remember correctly. But
You say draft?
dressed,
Oh,
dressed.
dressed? Oh, thank you, sir. Now, see, I've been the fan so long now that I when I work an overnight, I'm just wearing like sweatpants and Birkenstocks and stuff. But like, back in the day when I'm working those 6 p.m.s and there's still like some people lingering from the office, I made sure I showed up looking nice. You know what I mean?
You were sharp. You were sharp. But yeah, appreciate what you're doing, and talk to you on Saturday.
Let's go, baby. Rob, what's up, brother? You got some last thoughts?
Yeah, I do. I got a lot of expectations. I got a lot of faith. I will be on 7th Avenue on Saturday night.
No way.
I will not be in the arena, but I will be outside on the Jumbotrons at the watch party. There ain't no better place to be in the entire world than maybe inside the arena.
Mm.
And I am pumped. I can't wait to get there. There's a lot of things, as we said, they did well tonight. They can improve upon. I'll end it with this. Some people say it takes about 21 days to form a habit. I think it's around 2 months, is the actual number. And then it could take up to a year for that habit to become a natural behavior. Look at a guy like Jalen Brunson. He's 28 years old. For 28 years, he has been playing clutch, winning, hard-fought basketball.
Mm-hmm.
It is not just a fluke. It is not just a season. It is not a habit. It is not a behavior. It is a lifestyle. It's going to continue on Saturday. The Knicks are going to go up 3-0, and we'll have a chance to sweep the series on Monday in the real go.
Calling your shot, Rob. I love it. Appreciate you hopping in here and giving so many good thoughts out here to the spaces. And shout out to Zodiac GM. I gave you the shout out before, right? I must have just missed you when you popped out. You just popped back in. I read your tweet in the replies, and a shout out to you. Shout out to everybody who's been tuning in to the spaces here tonight. This was so much fun. Did this Monday impromptu. I'm going to keep ripping these because they're so much fun talking with all you guys and making this stuff happen in the moment, live in the flesh. And that's what the Knicks are going to try to do on Saturday. It's Mother's Day weekend, so don't forget to hug your mothers, get some flowers, and enjoy some time with those lovely ladies. And I'll be with my mother-in-law on Saturday, and me and her sons, who I'm very tight with, we're gonna have to do some, wagering here. Well, wagering, yes, but maybe wagering with the mother-in-law to get the Knicks game on Mother's Day weekend. It's not gonna be a hard fight. Let's be real. The Knicks are gonna be on, right? We'll spend all day with her. We're gonna get the Knicks on. It's all good. I cannot wait to watch that game on Saturday and then again on Monday. And who knows? Maybe we'll be back here on Saturday. Probably not, but definitely on Monday, basically no matter what. So pumped. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. That's all we got on Subway Sports Talk. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on your podcast app for all you people listening on Twitter, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the whole nine. We appreciate y'all for dropping in. And, you know what, Zodiac GM, you want to pop in? I just saw you request to speak. Give your closing thoughts, if you will, since you just clicked that.
Oh, hey, yeah. I just want to say the Knicks are fun to watch, and I enjoy every minute of the New York Knicks basketball. I think this season I had them ranked number one in my overall analysis, and it's showing. I mean, it goes to show that there's a strong correlation with this whole synergy thing. Brunson is killing it along with Towns and Tibbs doing his thing. So great job. And for New York fans and the city of New York, I think they've done a wonderful job. So yeah, it's a great job.
Hell yeah, man. I appreciate you tuning in and dropping the comments and listening to this whole thing. This was awesome. I hope we'll see you guys again. I just dropped you the follow on Twitter as well. We'll stay in touch and keep talking basketball, talking hoops and Knicks and stuff. Great stuff, man. This is awesome. So thank you guys for listening. More of this to come. Again, don't forget to follow, subscribe, rate, review, the whole nine. I hate doing all that. Subscribe, rate, review, smash that subscribe, da 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 da. But you know what? It helps to remind people that if you like what you're listening to, drop a little love because it goes back a long way, and I appreciate it a ton. So thanks for listening to everybody. Signing off for Subway Sports Talk. I'm Pete Kennedy. Cheers.